like that you've done your research. Because there are a lot of other things that I did in between there. I think from a very young age, I've always been an entertainer of sorts. I guess entertainer is a bit of a weird word because when you think entertainment, all you think is comedy and um, music and all of these things. But actually, especially with the content I make now online, it could just be a static image, but the point is to entertain people, no matter what. So, drawing, painting, I used to be in a rap group as well in Mtata, um, going into advertising, and then going into comedy. For me, it's all one thing, because all of those things rely on you coming up with ideas, packing these ideas together, and telling a story, essentially. So one question that a lot of people ask me is, how could you leave a lucrative job in advertising and move into comedy where you would have to start from zero and not make money for a long time until people started noticing you? And I was just like, well, the transition is pretty simple because, like I say, it's just a different medium, but it entails coming up with ideas and moving people in a specific way. In this regard, it was making people laugh. In advertising, it's playing on various emotions, making people laugh, making people feel a type of way, making people buy into whatever you're trying to sell. So yeah, I guess the transition for me has always been simple, and the new phase that I'm in right now, so doing a lot of content online, haven't been on stage in a very long time. It's still part of it, and I guess this is an amalgamation of comedy and my advertising background, because I'm using a lot of those skills to make, content that is, I would like to believe, um, good quality, not using traditional templates that everybody else is using, and really just trying to be left field and, create a bit of a brand for myself and, what I like, what I'm about. And um, the arc there is wit and humor, and it's very lighthearted. It's, just about making people feel good, even just for 10 minutes in their day. Wow, that is, you know, uh, it's 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 such a simple question, but also can be a difficult question because there's so many ways I can answer this. But the best way to answer it is, I feel like I have a genuine purpose now. In what I do, I juggle so many things, and when I was still doing a lot of comedy, I was out of the house, I was traveling, it was just a lot going on all the time. So you're constantly chasing and chasing and chasing, but you don't know what you are really chasing. Like you catch up and you think, okay, cool, this is it, and then you're on to the next thing. So it never really ends. And the baby is born, and she kind of slows things down a little bit and makes you appreciate time. So time for me is, it's like of the utmost at the moment. Really just working on making sure I get whatever I need to get out of the way and try and help my wife, who does most of the heavy lifting. So she's not getting a lot of sleep at the moment, because she's obviously breastfeeding the baby, and her schedule is still quite erratic. And I'm just trying to be as accommodating as possible and as empathetic, because it's the last thing you want is to wake up every single day having slept for 2 hours and then you still have to get through your day. So, we really just try and find little moments where then I can take over and just allow her to sleep a little bit. And it's just a constant, back and forth. Um, but I think time and presence those are two words that I'm going to use to describe what it's done for me, and just made me appreciate the small things. I mean, shucks, we we discovered that she has a new sound that she makes the other day. And that's like the biggest thing in the world for me right now. It doesn't matter, you know, that I'm doing a gig wherever, that I've gotten this or that I'm getting that. No, she's just made a new sound, and that's all that matters. So I guess it's just made me start appreciating the basic things again, things that make life beautiful, family, connection, friends, just being together. And I think it's strengthened, I guess, the bond between my wife and I. Um, and just, yeah, man, there's something so wonderful about watching a baby being born. And I cried, by the way, when she was born. I broke down. I just couldn't handle it because somebody once said, like, you've been in suspense for 9 months, and then boom, you get hit with like all of these emotions, and it was just too much for me to handle. But it's only been 3 months, but she's grown so much, and there's a part of me that goes, oh shucks, you know, did we spend enough time in this phase? Did I capture enough? So that later on, when I'm going through pictures, is there a solid timeline, of things that I can reminisce upon. Um, but yeah, man, what a wonderful thing, and I think it's something that I definitely needed. Just to slow me down. Like I say, it really just makes me appreciate time and live in the moment, and spending any little moment with her, for example, is just a wonderful, simple, beautiful thing. And I wouldn't change that for anything in the world. Look, balance is, I think it's something that, I mean, I've, I'm very bad at time management, especially with, before Sophia, our baby, came along. Also, the industry that we're in is quite unpredictable because we have a lot of things coming in from all sides, so my day can go from, oh, you have nothing tomorrow, you're free, to a voiceover has come in at 9 a.m. And then there's this brainstorm that you have to jump onto at 11. This client has just decided they want to go with you. Can you drive to Pretoria to this gig? And then please, can you send through the answers for this interview that you're supposed to do? And it just gets chaotic, and it's very hard to schedule those kinds of things because there's things coming in from all sides. And the industry that we're in as well, you can't also just say no to a lot of those things. It's so unpredictable. It really is. I mean, I guess you get what you put out at the end of the month. Um, and then on top of that, still trying to make content and kind of be in that online space and make things there. So now now that we have a little family, I think I was saying this to somebody the other day that I'm very conscious of the things I say yes to. So I've been saying no a lot. And to break it down, I'm like, I won't go to the opening of an envelope anymore. You attend all these events because they just want you there, and they need you to do A, B, and C, and I'm just like, no, I don't like. I haven't spent time at home. I haven't been there for my wife, who's been with the baby the whole day. I can't say yes to this because I need to take care of that. I need to handle that. So slowly, just kind of building that, and right now, trying to find a balance. Like, I mean, I wake up super early and try and get work done as early as possible because you're just constantly buying little chunks of time throughout the day. So I guess that's how I'm doing it. But I mean, with a baby, also hard to find that balance because my wife, who is really trying to work on a schedule, when she sleeps, when she eats, just to have a consistent pattern and rhythm going. That's also been a struggle because one day it'll be all good. Yes, everybody's happy. The next day, gone, completely out the water. Then you're like, what the hell? So you're just constantly bobbing and weaving the whole time, and still within that, trying to find a little bit of balance. But it is tough. It is very tough. But I think the most important thing is just trying to be as conscious of it as possible and just know that you are trying to work towards it. This question is an interesting one because I always feel guilty answering it. But the pandemic was the best thing that could have happened for me and my brand and our brand because it allowed us to pivot and work on things that we've always just kind of pushed to the side because we've been focused on what we do. The moment lockdown was announced and we couldn't perform anymore, my wife, who's also an entertainer, she's a classical violinist, um, knew that we weren't going to be on stage for a very long time. So we collaborated and started creating content together last year that we would just put out for free, and that just went super viral. We were huge in the Middle East for some strange reason. Abu Dhabi and Turkey, we were featured there. Did a big, I mean, we were even featured on Al Jazeera, of all places. And this content really started flying. And the reason, I think, is because we were making it ourselves, and operating on, I guess, good quality, relatable stories that we were putting out. And people jumped on it and just started eating it up, and we quickly realized that we're going to need to put this out as much as possible. And that's what's going to, I guess, hopefully get us a collaboration with some brand who can pay us to work on stuff. And they started coming in. They started coming in. Agencies had shut down, so a lot of people weren't able to make stuff with their agencies, so they would come directly to us and ask us to solve some of their briefs, which we did. And it was the busiest year. It was probably my most profitable year ever, which is such a weird thing to say because I've done well, financially in comedy. Um, but that was just something else, and it's still going. I think we put so much of it out last year that we created enough noise for people to know who we are and what we are about, that we're still getting the calls to work on stuff. We're still getting the calls to collaborate and to be a part of very long campaigns. And going forward, I mean, I'm slowly getting back on stage with a lot of corporate gigs now, doing MC work, comedy here and there, but still operating and making a lot of stuff for brands online. I, I love it, I really do love it. And like I say, these are things that I've been wanting to do for the longest time, but I just haven't had time, or I haven't made time, because comedy on its own is a very difficult thing to manage. Like, it's really time consuming, writing material, having to go and perform this material, and constantly working it over and over and over and over again. So yeah, the pandemic for me gave me an opportunity to really start putting out everything that I've been holding back, and I guess introducing my real self to people. Going back to that label thing we spoke about earlier, where people put you in this one little box. I think now a lot of people, um, they don't really know what to expect from me. All they know is that it's going to be quite a witty, creative slant, and it's going to be very different to a lot of the stuff that you may or may not have seen out there. And I want to keep doing more of that going forward, on a bigger scale. On a bigger scale, bigger production, perhaps. Um, yeah, it's just about exploring ideas now for us. I think we just started falling in love with this idea, or this concept of writing the book that you want to read, is how I'm going to define it, and I'll leave it at that.